There you are.
Oh, can you see me now?
Yes. Do you see me?
You see, yes. You see my spiky hair?
I see your spiky hair.
Okay, that's me.
This is
Okay.
me. Hi.
What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about your career.
My career. My God. God, that's been so long ago. I'm 84 now.
I know. I know.
And my career. I'll start by saying I found my niche in marketing and public relations.
Mhm.
And I kept getting fired because I didn't realize at the time that I could do it better, faster, cheaper than others. And I guess the bosses that I worked for didn't appreciate my independence. So when I realized I kept getting fired, I just thought, well, I guess I should just open my own business, be my own boss, and run my company the way I thought it should be run. And I carved out a niche in marketing and public relations to capture an audience that people never really thought of. And that's outreach to the Asian American community that are living in the US. The corporations and especially the public utilities had to do outreach to them, and they didn't have a clue on how to reach them. So first of all, I made them sign a contract with me that I would be their consultant. And so once that was out of the way, they became my clients. So I taught them how to use the Asian language media outlets to reach that group, that population group. And they had to, because everybody uses public utilities. So from the public utilities, I began my outreach to major corporations that also wanted to reach that segment of the population, and they didn't have a clue as to how to do it. And so major corporations, public utilities. Oh, and in those days, I don't know if you recall, the Small Business Administration said that if you receive government funding, you must do outreach to the minority segments of the population. Well, most people knew how to reach the Blacks and the Hispanics, but had no clue on how to reach the Asians, because the Asians were such a varied group, not only in customs, but also in language. So That's why I was able to capture um, corporations and utilities as my client base.
So with the Small Business Administration, they used to issue proposals and they were looking for minorities, but they did not consider the Asian American small business community part of what they defined as minorities.
Well, the Small Business Administration, as you know, is a huge government agency, and they, I forgot the law. I think it was Public Law 95-507. And if you want to look it up, you can. Public Law 95-507 encouraged, I'll use the word encouraged, not arm twisted, that if you do business with government agencies, you must do outreach to every segment of the population, which included Asian Americans. Did I answer your question?
Yes, but I think back then, the government agencies who were issuing proposals, well, they had to set aside a certain amount of money in the contract for,
That's correct. Yeah, set asides. Yeah, we battled the corporations because, of course, if there were set asides, that meant that was less business for them, because set asides were a very important tool that we used to hit them over the head.
but at that
So
point, the government wasn't necessarily looking at Asian American business people as minorities, right? They were mostly looking at African Americans and Hispanic populations as minority small business people.
that's correct. I think the Asians at that time were an afterthought. And so I remember back in the days, we were left banging on their doors. And I guess we made a big enough noise. And then I don't know if you remember back in the day, not only minority owned business, but minority women owned business. And as a woman, and being a minority, I felt I had more at stake. So I was quite vocal in making sure that I got my fair share. And in those days, most Asian women did not know their power. And so I was educating both sides. I said, hey, you're a woman, you're a minority. And I think in those days, Asians did not realize that they were a minority because they weren't Black and they weren't Hispanic. So I was educating at every level. I was educating the government people, the corporations, and Asians, and then Asian women. And so the approach to all four entities was quite different. So I remember back in the day, um, we actually had to go to DC um, to a hearing to lay out chapter and verse why we should be included, not only why, but how.
So because of your efforts, the Small Business Administration broadened their definition of minorities to include Asian Americans.
It was an educational process. Uh, like I say, at that time, the Asian population wasn't that big as it is today. Um, in those days, the Asians that were coming were new immigrants. And the new immigrants in those days and today mostly had small business. They were family-owned business. They were storefronts. Um, they weren't dealing at the government agency level. So we went after the Asian-owned businesses that were trying to do business with the public entities.
So you were in the public relations marketing industry. How many other Asian women had PR firms back then in the 70s?
Uh, I think I was sort of a pioneer because marketing and public relations uh, within the Asian women-owned businesses and male businesses, that wasn't on their horizon. I just figured, well, I always worked in public relations and outreach as an employee to other advertising and public relations firms. Uh, I think you know the name Foot Cone Building. And what's the Bible? The Bible magazine called Ad Age, Advertising Age. Well, very rarely did I see any Asian-owned businesses highlighted in those major magazines of our industry. And I said, gee, I read, and then rarely would they highlight a Black or Hispanic owned a PR firm. And I think in those days, during Ad Age, by the way, is it still in publication? It is. Oh, I have to pick up a copy. Anyway, in those days, there weren't that many Black and Hispanic owned firms that were highlighted in Ad Age. And like I say, the Asian business owners weren't even on their on their radar.
So you went out there, you were most likely the first woman-owned Asian American public relations marketing firm.
That's
Correct?
true. I joined this organization. I can't remember. PRSA, Public
Mhm.
Relations Society of America. Do you
Mhm.
remember that? Back in the day, PRSA had a conference, and I remember distinctly it was in Arizona. So I said, hey, I'm a public relations and marketing person. I think I'll go to that conference just to get my feet wet, maybe meet some other people, and make some connections. So I went, and lo and behold, I saw another Asian woman, and I go, wow. And she said, wow. So I said, her name is Roberta Wong at that time. Roberta Wong happened to be from Hawaii, and I was so thrilled to meet another Asian woman in the PR industry. So she and I became fast friends, and me being from California, and she goes, wow. Anyway, we became fast friends, and we're still buddies today. And of course, both retired. And but she being from Hawaii had it much easier because of the market there. And anyway, I stayed in the PR marketing business until my retirement, and it was to me very rewarding. And uh, for a long, long time, I was sort of the one and only Asian woman in marketing and PR. Now there are several, um, and more power to them.
Do you remember meeting Bill Amata as a young man?
Oh yeah, a long, long, long time ago. Uh, I think Bill at that time, when when he and I sat when he and I sat down one on one, um, at that time I think he was thinking about starting his own agency, and I said, yeah, well, we need more, uh, and all through the years we had a friendly relationship. I never felt competitive to him. Of course, he grew his business much, much faster and bigger than I did. I I had two offices, one in Los Angeles and one in San Francisco, and I never wanted to get so big that it became uncontrollable. Uh, I think uh, I, I'm a control freak. So I wanted to be in control of what was going on. And Los Angeles and San Francisco was about all I could handle. I didn't really want to get any bigger than that.
And plus, you were a mother to four sons.
Oh yes. And I was a single mom uh, for uh, since their early teens. And so on the home front, and Bill Imada didn't have, you know, all that going on in the background. He could concentrate on the business. So I was trying to keep the home front going, and four teenage sons um, was not easy. And so once they hit age 16, um, of course, they wanted a car, they wanted to drive. And so I felt like I was losing control because by then their dad and I were divorced. So I was a single mom raising four teenage sons. Um, and I have my number three son. Uh, he is deaf and hard of hearing, so that was a whole nother world that I was navigating to be able to get to stay on top of his handicap and his special education. So, I had a lot going on my plate, and to have to have control of all these different facets going on in my life. Looking back, I don't know how I did it. And try to run a business. I mean, the home scene was one thing with so much going on. I really didn't need a business just to be in control of things going on at home, my 4 teenage sons, and then trying to run a business on the outside. When I look back, that was pretty overwhelming. I don't know if I could do it again. But the reason that the thing that kept me going was survival. And I think if you speak to any woman business owner, I think they would tell you the same thing, is survival. And, if you don't have the guts and the balls to do it, you can't do it. I don't know where I got the strength. I don't know where the energy came from. I think perhaps when I look back, it was my competitive nature that kept me going forward and the survival instinct.
So today, the world is quite different. There are a lot of Asian American women in all parts of the public relations industry, whether agencies or even corporations. And last night we held our 3rd annual Asian American Pacific Islander event. And we had panels that were led by Bill Amata. And I'm going to send you a link so you can see what the young women today are talking about, what their perspectives are of being an Asian American woman in the business. In one case, it was a man.
I wish I had been on that panel.
Well, if you had Zoom, I would have asked you, but I will have you on next year. Would you like that?
Sure, if I'm still alive.
You'll be, of course, no question.
I
But
would
now
have
that
loved,
you're,
I would have loved to contribute to that panel. I'm sure it was very good, very informative, and I'm so glad that Bill is still out there, pounding his gavel.
well, he's remarkable. He's just the best moderator.
He is, and he is so knowledgeable because he was there at the beginning. And yeah, Bill has always been a buddy.
So if you were on the panel and these young women asked you for advice, what would you tell them?
My first piece of advice is go with your gut. And forget about the naysayers. Go with your gut. Find a hole and fill it. There's a lot of holes out there, I'm sure, and anybody that's in business would say that their motivation is that they saw a hole and they're filling it. So I would say find a hole and fill it. In those days, Asians were low man on the totem pole. Their efforts were geared towards the African Americans and the Hispanics, and Asians were never on their radar screen. And I one of my flag waving efforts to these corporations and public agencies, as I said, Asians, you're overlooking the Asians. The Asians are the best educated. They have the best jobs. Asians have the most disposable income. The Asians, percentage-wise, are homeowners. And you're missing a target group for your outreach efforts. And I'm here to tell you how to do it. So that was my flag waving. And nobody could deny that. Asians were the best educated. Asians did have the best jobs at professional level employment, and they were pulling in professional level incomes. I say, you're missing a large segment of the population. You better start marketing to them, because if you don't, somebody else will. Ha ha ha. Anyway, until I came along, I don't think anybody else was really banging on their doors to say, here's a segment of the population that you're overlooking. So you better get on the bandwagon, because somebody else is going to discover them first. So that was my marketing flag that I waved, and it worked. And I think Billy Mata and I, although we're not close buddies, I think he and I shared the same mentality. So more power to Bill. I'm so glad he's still active. I'm such a has-been that nobody really remembers that I was out there, carrying the banner, but I'm glad he still is.
Well, thanks to Bill, I got to know you. And because you've been so successful in the business, you've been a role model to hundreds and hundreds of Asian American young people who want to be in public relations and marketing. You led the way for them. You may not realize it, but you did.
Well, in those days, PR and marketing and public relations was not even it was not even in their consciousness to have a business like that, because mainly Asians are very reticent to call attention to themselves. And, I was never like that. I was always very out there. And like I said, I found a hole and I tried to fill it before anybody else even imagined that there was a hole.
Well, Lynn, thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking to you again. And I promise you that next year when we have our event, you're the first person I'm calling to be on the panel.
Well, thank you. I would love to be on one of the panels, and I just think that Asians as a whole and especially Asian women are beginning to see the benefits of being out there. For so many years, they were behind the scenes, and it's it was okay. They were very supportive, but I think now is the time that the spotlight should be on Asians. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so
Holiday
much.
anytime.
Thank you so much. I will
Okay.
speak to you soon, but most important, have a wonderful Mother's Day.
I certainly will. My kids are coming over and it's potluck, so I don't have to cook.
That's the best
Okay.
kind of Mother's Day you
How
can
do
have.
I turn this off?
Where it says end on the lower right hand
On
part
the
of the
right hand,
screen.
it says
Lower right
leave.
hand, it says end.
Mine says leave.
Yes,
Okay,
hit that.
so I hit that.
Yes.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.